साधना की प्राप्ति क्यों न कर ले, लेकिन उसका स्वास्थ्य ही उसका सबसे बड़ा धन होता है। ये कहावत सुनी हम सबने है, लेकिन आज की तेज रफ्तार दुनिया में इस बात को हम कहीं भूल गए हैं। देखा जाए तो हमारे स्वास्थ्य और कल्याण से संबंधित 70% समस्याएं गलत जीवन शैली के कारण ही होती हैं। इन सब समस्याओं से लड़ने के लिए क्रैक द वेलनेस कोड (CWC) ग्लोबल की शुरुआत सिलिकॉन वैली में की गई थी। CWC एक गैर राजनीतिक, गैर धार्मिक और गैर व्यावसायिक संस्था है जो हर उम्र के लोगों की वेलनेस यानी कि कल्याण को बढ़ाने की कोशिश करती है। अपने शरीर और मन की देखभाल करो, ये ही वो जगह है जहां हमें हमेशा रहना है। CWC सैन फ्रांसिस्को बे एरिया में एक जबरदस्त वेलनेस मूवमेंट की तरह जाना जाता है। सिलिकॉन वैली में अपने जबरदस्त काम से CWC ने अमेरिका में रहने वाले ना जाने कितने भारतीय मूल के लोगों की जिंदगी बदली है और अपनी इस अपार सफलता के बाद अब CWC ग्लोबल हमारे देश में आ रहा है CWC इंडिया फाउंडेशन के नए रूप में। वेलनेस का मतलब होता है कि हम हमारे रोजमर्रा के जीवन में ज्यादा से ज्यादा अच्छी आदतों का पालन करें ताकि आप समग्र रूप से स्वस्थ और अपना जीवन पूर्ण ऊर्जा से जिएं। स्वस्थ तन में ही रहते हैं स्वस्थ मन और विचार। अगर चाहते हैं खुश रहना तो ना होने दे इसे बीमार। CWC इंडिया फाउंडेशन का लक्ष्य है 5 साल में 50 लाख लोगों की खुशहाली को बढ़ाना और इसके लिए जो मंत्र बनाया गया है वो है ई एडुकेट, आई इंस्पायर, ई एम्पावर, आई इम्पैक्ट। अब प्रश्न है कि ये कैसे होगा। सबसे पहले बात करते हैं ई यानी कि एडुकेट की। CWC इंडिया फाउंडेशन अपने पार्टिसिपेंट्स को कंटेंट के द्वारा एडुकेट करेंगे। ये कंटेंट आपको ऑनलाइन हमारी वेबसाइट पर और ऑफलाइन हमारे वेलनेस रिसोर्स सेंटर पर उपलब्ध है। वेलनेस रिसोर्स सेंटर एक ऐसी जगह है जहां आपको स्वास्थ्य से संबंधित सभी रिसोर्सेज उपलब्ध हैं। ये रिसोर्सेज विशेषज्ञों के द्वारा सुझाए गए हैं और यहां पर आपको और भी सेवाएं उपलब्ध होंगी जैसे कि योग, प्राणायाम, स्वस्थ आहार के बारे में जानकारी और लाइव वेलनेस सेशंस का भी लाभ उठा सकते हैं। साथ ही हम आपको वेबिनार्स, वर्कशॉप्स और सपोर्ट ग्रुप्स के द्वारा स्वास्थ्य विशेषज्ञों से भी जोड़ते हैं जो आपको वेलनेस पर रिसर्च बेस्ड जानकारी देते हैं। अब आते हैं आई यानी कि इंस्पायर। डॉक्टर्स, वेलनेस प्रैक्टिशनर्स और हमारे हेल्थ हीरोज के सहयोग से आपको वेलनेस के लिए प्रेरित किया जाता है। ई यानी कि एम्पावर। सहभागियों को सपोर्ट ग्रुप्स, वेबिनार्स, वेलनेस रिसोर्स सेंटर तथा और भी अन्य प्रकार की गतिविधियों से वेलनेस को अपने जीवन का अभिन्न अंग बनाने के लिए सशक्त करते हैं। आई यानी कि इम्पैक्ट। जैसा कि हमने बताया CWC इंडिया फाउंडेशन का अगले 5 साल में कम से कम 50 लाख भारतीयों की वेलनेस पर काम करने का दृढ़ संकल्प है। CWC इंडिया फाउंडेशन वेलनेस के 10 अलग अलग आयामों पर काम करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है और ये है फिजिकल वेलनेस मतलब शारीरिक स्वास्थ्य, इमोशनल एंड मेंटल वेलनेस मतलब भावनात्मक और मानसिक स्वास्थ्य, इसी तरीके से ऑक्यूपेशनल वेलनेस, फाइनेंशियल वेलनेस, स्पिरिचुअल वेलनेस, कल्चरल वेलनेस, सोशल वेलनेस, एनवायरमेंटल वेलनेस, लीगल वेलनेस, टेक्निकल वेलनेस। भारत विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में अच्छा कर रहा है, लेकिन जब स्वास्थ्य और कल्याण की बात करें तो हम उसमें बहुत से देशों से पीछे हैं। आज भारत ग्लोबल वेलनेस इंडेक्स में 156 देशों में 140th रैंक पर है। आपको और हम सबको मिलकर इस स्थिति को बदलना है और भारत को इस क्षेत्र में भी आगे बढ़ाना है। आइए हम सब मिलकर इस संकल्प से जुड़ जाएं। धन्यवाद।
हेलो एंड वेलकम एवरीवन। आप सबका इस नए सेशन में स्वागत है। आज थोड़ा सा कहानी में ट्विस्ट है। We had a challenge last night wherein we got to know that one of our doctor who's going to be on the session with Shruti for the story on the cancer survivor, somehow there is some medical emergencies there and we really couldn't manage that session with her. So, but we have another very interesting, chronic story, and not just one, but two today. So I'm Sharad Kamra, your host today, and स्वागत करते हैं आप सबका इस सेशन के साथ. So सबसे पहले जो एक्सपर्ट हमारे साथ आज हैं, वो है हमारे अपने, our own trustee of Crack the Wellness Code India Foundation, Mr. Vidyakant Kala. काला साहब के बारे में क्या बताएं? Such a strong disciplinarian man, and you never know what kind of stories could be running behind a man who looks really very fit, really very strong, ready to go, and always in charge on things. But life is full of twists. You never know कि कहां पर कौन से मोड़ पर क्या चीज खड़ी है. So काला सर के बारे में अगर बताएं तो he is an engineer by profession and qualification. He is alumni of Sainik School Chittorgarh, passed out as from BTech from MNIT Jaipur, and then MTech from IIT Kharagpur, and then he's a graduate from Defense Services Staff College, Wellington also. Great accomplishments, right? Then he served, went on to serve Indian Air Force for 21 years, and he did his lot of field assignments there and worked later on missiles. He worked on jet aircrafts. He worked on radars. I think it's a profession which is dream come true, I tell you. And then communication equipment. While in uniform, he was also awarded as Vice Chief of the Air Staff Medal. Great accomplishments, Kala sir. In 1998, he joined hands in US to start an IT product company in India. And then currently, now he's in a give back mode to the world. He wants to share, the wellness secrets and, work on helping people to get more and more of ideas on how they can work on their own wellness, along with our own chairman, Mr. Naren Bakshi. So thank you so much, Kala sir, for being with us today. And we look forward to hear your engaging story. We have another expert with us also today, and that is Mr. Raj Shah. He's joined us from Silicon Valley. Welcome, Raj. So Raj is again an amazing story, and we are going to talk in detail about him and how he recovered from his chronic illnesses. So let's start one by one. Over to you, Kala sir. Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah, unmuting. Yeah. Thank you, Sharad. Thanks for a generous introduction. And good morning, friends. While we have been working on wellness, we thought let us also share my story, what I went through. So I'll take you in the form of a narration of what actually happened, sequence of events date-wise, and put things in right perspective. I'll just share my screen. Just give me a minute. Okay, is my screen visible?
It is. Yes, it's appearing well.
Great. So friends, our name, as we said, is Crack the Wellness Code. So we all need to find our own wellness code. Today, I'm glad to share my Crack the Wellness Code story. So what I would say is मेरी कहानी, मेरी जुबानी, मैं विंग कमांडर विद्याकांत काला आप सबके सामने आज मुखातिब हूं मेरी कहानी लेकर. तारीख थी 27 सितंबर 2018. हम लोग कुछ मित्रों के साथ में एक सरकारी ऑफिस में बैठे हुए थे और दोपहर को मुझे चेस्ट के अंदर कुछ अनकंफर्टेबल सी फीलिंग लगी. कोई चेस्ट पेन नहीं, no radiating pain in arm, and none of the typical heart attack symptoms. I thought maybe there's some gastric trouble, so coffee piya, thoda sa deep breathing kiya. I felt fine and we came back home. अगले दिन पता नहीं क्यों मेरे को दिमाग में आया कि अपने को एक बार डॉक्टर से बात तो कर लेनी चाहिए कि क्या हुआ था आखिर. तो करीब 24 घंटे गुजर चुके थे. हम गए मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल खड़की. मैं पूना में रहता हूं, घर के पास में हमारे मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल है खड़की में. तो वहां पे मैंने स्पेशलिस्ट को रिपोर्ट किया. उन्होंने ईसीजी कराया. जो ईसीजी कर रहा था टेक्नीशियन, वो पूछता है सर कब हुआ था. आई सेड क्या कब हुआ था. Then he says, sir, please immediately go to the doctor. सो हम डॉक्टर के पास पहुंचे, उन्होंने रिपोर्ट देखी, पूछा आप कैसे आए हो? मैंने कहा ड्राइव करके आया हूं। ऊपर कैसे आए हो? मैंने कहा सीढ़ियां लेके आया, इट वाज ऑन फर्स्ट फ्लोर। सर आई हैव टेकन स्टेप्स एंड देन कम। ही सेज okay, how are you feeling? I said I'm feeling good. He said very nice. So they did a TROP-T test, which is the test to check if you have suffered a heart attack, and it was positive. So they put me on a wheelchair, put me in an ambulance, and sent to in military, in Pune, we have another very big hospital, which is known as MHCTC, MH Cardiothoracic Center. उन्होंने मुझे एम्बुलेंस में वहां भेज दिया। ये बात है 28 सितंबर की। उन्होंने डायग्नोसिस किया acute coronary syndrome. This is applied to patients in whom there is a suspicion or confirmation of acute myocardial ischemia or infarction. इसके 3 प्रकार होते हैं: non ST elevation myocardial infarction, ST elevation myocardial infarction, and unstable angina. These are the 3 types of ATS. They found that my left ventricular ejection fraction, जिसको शॉर्ट फॉर्म में LVEF भी बोलते हैं, दिस वाज 45%. अब सवाल ये आता है कि LVEF है क्या? LVEF और लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल इजेक्शन फ्रैक्शन, it indicates the amount of blood in the left ventricle. Now लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल जो है ये हमारे हार्ट का मेन पंपिंग चैम्बर है, तो ये इंडिकेट करता है कि जितना खून आता है उसमें से कितना खून वापस हार्ट पंप करता है, और इसको परसेंटेज टर्म से बताते हैं। नॉर्मल लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकुलर इजेक्शन फ्रैक्शन का जो रेंज है वो है 55% to 70%, and mine was 45%. So if we say 65% and LVEF of 65% means that 65% of the total amount of blood in the left ventricle is pumped out with each heartbeat. अब ये जो EF है आपका, ये ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है based on your heart condition और आप दवाई को कैसा रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं। So a decision was taken to carry out angiography, that it's also called coronary angiography. उसका रिपोर्ट आया LAD, और लेफ्ट एंटीरियर डिसेंडिंग आर्टरी ये वाला जो है, इसमें 100% ब्लॉकेज था। ये आर्टरी जो है हार्ट की मसल्स को ब्लड सप्लाई करती है। फिर दूसरा आया पोस्टीरियर डिसेंडिंग आर्टरी, इसमें 90% ब्लॉकेज था। ये ब्लड सप्लाई करती है इंफीरियर एस्पेक्ट ऑफ द हार्ट। नाउ सवाल ये आता है कि अगर 100% ब्लॉकेज हो तो हाउ आई एम सर्वाइविंग? So what they say is, over a period of time, a lot of tertiary arteries come into play and they keep the heart functioning. In any case, because the blockage is 100%, so an immediate decision was taken to do angioplasty. So what they call is percutaneous coronary intervention, which is also known as angioplasty, was done on LAD and 2 stents were put. Now, this operation in my case took unusually long time. It took almost 2.5 to 3 hours. So what happens is, when they are doing this, they inject a dye into the body, and there is a limit of time for which they want to inject the dye into your body. So doctor said, okay, good, your major problem is taken care of. जो आपका दूसरा ब्लॉकेज है, इसको हम थोड़ा बाद में देखेंगे once you are stable. I said, okay. This was on 1st October 2018. So angioplasty हुआ 1 अक्टूबर 2018 को। अभी मेरा जो LVEF था वो इंप्रूव होकर के हो गया 50%। पोस्ट प्रोसीजर एवरीथिंग वाज नॉर्मल, तो डॉक्टर्स ने मुझे 3 अक्टूबर को डिस्चार्ज दे दिया, और उन्होंने बोला कि भैया आप 4 हफ्ते बाद वापस आइए हमारे पास में, तब हम देखेंगे कि आपकी दूसरी आर्टरी का क्या करना है। 3 अक्टूबर से 19 दिसंबर को मेरा दूसरा टेस्ट हुआ था। तो इस दौरान मेडिसिन शुरू करी। मैंने अपने लाइफ चेंज किया। डाइट, आई वेंट ऑलमोस्ट टोटली वेगन डाइट एंड एज मच एज फ्रेश एंड स्प्राउटेड डाइट एज पॉसिबल. I regulated my food timings, no food after 7 in the evening. First thing in the morning, you take, breakfast, like breakfast. And then other thing I did was daily walking, which was doctor advised me mix slow walk and fast walk to give a cardio exercise to yourself. और मैं बराबर मेरे एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ टच में था. उन्होंने देखा कि मेरी जनरल कंडीशन वाज गुड. देन ही सेड कि भैया आपका दूसरा हम एंजियोप्लास्टी करें, उससे पहले हार्ट की कंडीशन चेक कर लेते हैं. उसका एक टेस्ट होता है मायोकार्डियल परफ्यूजन स्कैन. उन्होंने वो टेस्ट ऑर्डर किया. ये टेस्ट हो रहा है याद रखिए 50 दिन बाद. जो इंसिडेंस हुआ था वो सितंबर एंड में हुआ था. दिस इज 19th of December. इस टेस्ट के अंदर आपके बॉडी में अगेन कुछ डाई इंजेक्ट करते हैं और डाई इंजेक्ट करके आपको ट्रेडमिल के ऊपर दौड़ाते हैं वो, और फिर उसके बाद आपके हार्ट को स्कैन करते हैं, ये देखने के लिए कि हार्ट के किस किस हिस्से में खून जा रहा है या नहीं जा रहा है. उनका रिपोर्ट आया नॉर्मल एक्टिव एलवी कैविटी, दैट मींस लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकुलर कैविटी नॉर्मल है. नॉर्मल परफ्यूजन टू ऑल रीजन्स ऑफ एलवी मायोकार्डियम, हार्ट के सब हिस्से को खून मिल रहा है. इकोकार्डियोग्राफिक रीजनल वॉल का जो मोशन है वो नॉर्मल है, देयर इज नो एबनॉर्मलिटी देयर. और एलवीएफ फ्रैक्शन जो है दिस इज नाउ गॉन अप टू 54%. शुरू हुए थे अपन 45% से, एंजियोप्लास्टी के बाद इट वेंट टू 50% एंड नाउ इट वेंट टू 54%. इंप्रेशन नॉर्मल स्ट्रेस एमपीआई, नॉर्मल लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकुलर फंक्शन. रिपोर्ट मैंने मेरे फिजिशियन के साथ टेस्ट करी. उन्होंने व्हाट्सएप पे जवाब दिया, जा सिमरन जी ले अपनी जिंदगी. मीनिंग देयर बाय कि जो दूसरा स्टेंट की हम बात कर रहे थे आर्टरी के अंदर, उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. So posterior descending artery, which was 90% blocked at that point in time, did not now need an intervention. और ये चेंज हुआ सिर्फ 50 दिनों के अंदर, which is I think remarkable. उसके बाद का पीरियड 19 दिसंबर से, थर्ड लैंडमार्क डेट फॉर मी वाज 11th May 2022. इस दौरान हमने डाइट कंट्रोल को और टाइट किया. मेरा दिन की जो शुरुआत होती है अब वो 2 गिलास गर्म पानी के साथ होती है. उसके बाद करीब 8:30 बजे फर्स्ट थिंग आई टेक इन द मॉर्निंग इज सम फ्रूट्स. उसके बाद 9 बजे के आसपास लाइट ब्रेकफास्ट, क्योंकि मुझे दवाइयां लेनी होती हैं, विच इज मोस्टली ओट्स. लंच अराउंड नून टाइम, fruits in the afternoon and a cup of tea, largely a green tea, and early dinner by 7 p.m. मेरे डाइट में कुछ चीजें ऐड करी मैंने, फ्लैक्स सीड्स जो कि ओमेगा 3 के लिए अच्छा बताते हैं. एंड वॉकिंग इन द सन वाज मैंडेटरी फॉर मी एवरी डे, बिकॉज विटामिन डी अगेन प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल फॉर आवर हेल्थ. रेगुलर वॉकिंग मैंने चालू रखी. जो मेरी वॉकिंग की स्पीड रहती है वो रहती है 10 से 11 मिनट्स में मेरा 1 किलोमीटर पूरा हो जाना चाहिए. Roughly I do 10,000 steps every day. There are days I do 17,000. There are days I do 8,000, 9,000. But target is कि at least 10,000 steps होने चाहिए. बीच के अंदर I keep challenging myself that I have to walk at stretch for 10 kilometers to test my stamina. In the meantime, I reduced my weight from 80 kg to 70 kg. And then on 11th May 2020, I went for another myocardial perfusion test. इस बार जो findings आई, जैसा पहले था, LV is normal in size. Post-stress images show homogeneous distribution of tracer in the anterior apical, septal, inferior and lateral myocardium, means heart को सब जगह blood मिल रहा है. Rest images show no segmental improvement in perfusion. Gated SPECT images show normal contractility of the, again, various parts of the heart. And LVEF was found to be now 64%. Remember, we started from 45%, went to 50%. December it was 54%, and now it was 64%. Doctors comments good effort tolerance. That means जब मेरे को वो दौड़ा रहे थे स्ट्रेस मिल के ऊपर, my heart was perfectly fine. No evidence of stress-induced left ventricular dysfunction. No evidence of post-stress image ischemia. So in general, they said, heart is in pretty good condition. When I look back, how did all this happen? What actually made the difference? What I realized is it was going back to our roots, making lifestyle changes along with proper treatment. And when I say lifestyle, going back to roots, what do I mean by it? So my inspiration for this is my father. In this slide, you see him. We had gone on a picnic to Lonavala, which is about 70, 80 kilometers from Pune. This was in 2011. He was 92. Very hale and hearty. Right from childhood, he would focus on healthy lifestyle. जो आज हम बात शुरू से देखा है बचपन से, लेकिन बीच में कहीं करियर बनाने में, प्रोफेशन के अंदर हम कुछ बातों को भूल गए और जिसकी सजा हमने भुगती इस हार्ट अटैक के रूप में. उनका कहना था, उनके जो कोट्स दो जो मैं सुनते आ रहा हूं, खाओ पियो भको मत, eat but don't overeat, देखो भालो थको मत, don't stress yourself, घूमो फिरो थको मत. Second thing he would say, पेट गरम, keep your stomach warm, keep your feet warm, पेट नरम, keep your stomach light, and keep your head cool. Don't take stress. And by this, you would automatically बीमारी को मारो डंडा. Once I went through, I kind of recollected all these thoughts that my father would tell me day in and day out while he was with us. I remember him going out to the parks here in Pune. He had a group of friends. He was oldest in that group, but he would still be leading them and conducting yoga sessions for them. Very regular in yoga, very, frugal in food habits, and very disciplined life. So that's what I meant, that I went back to roots by what I had been seeing from childhood. Another inspiration for me was our founder of the Crackness World Trust, Bakshi, with whom you all have met. What all he did to improve his health. Thank you so much, Sharad, for giving me so much time. And I would hand over back to you.
Wow, what a wonderful, excellent story. Thank you so much, Kala sir, for inspiring us. देखा जाए तो हम लोगों को लगता है कि सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है, लेकिन पता नहीं चलता कि कब कौन सी चीज कहां पर दस्तक देने वाली है. और हमको लगता है अच्छा जो चीज जस्ट समय होनी है, चलो मस्त रहो. But actually, what we learned from his experience is that if you've actually really taken charge of your life, if you're maintaining all the corners of your life well, then you will bounce back. और वो लोग जो ढीले पड़ जाते हैं, सच में फिर ढीले हो जाते हैं. But look at Kala sir, the way he is, thoroughly engaged full time, with Crack the Wellness Code also, with his own life activities, which is flowing. And at this age, the way he maintains himself, keeping charge of everything, it's really an inspiring story. Thank you so much, Kala sir. Thanks a lot. So, चलते हैं आज की दूसरी कहानी पर. और हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर राज शाह. So, Raj is 65 years old. इनकी फैमिली में इनकी वाइफ हैं जो कि एक टीचर भी हैं, थेरेपिस्ट भी हैं. His son is a techie and he has a daughter who's a doctor. Yes, so many different flavors in the family. So he's been in and out of many startups and large companies such as Google, MSFT, Apple. So many things he's been into. Currently, he's Chief Product Officer at an artificial intelligence startup he is co-founded. He loves music. He plays harmonica. He hikes daily. He, goes for cycling also. And what all not he has done, he's been up to the Kilimanjaro top also. Oh, wow. Such an inspiration, Raj. So it's such an excellent story. But what really happened? Where did the chronic things came from? And, how he really dealt with those situations, how he really countered all those things which life throws at us in terms of health challenges. Let's hear from Raj. Raj, over to you.
Well, thank you for that generous introduction. So let me share my screen. All right, let me know if that's visible.
Yeah, very much.
All right. Good.
Yes.
So I've been introduced, but I actually think about myself as not 65. My body is 65. I feel a lot younger. Okay. I'll skip through some of the introduction stuff which Sharad already talked about, but I'll make one comment is that in spite of being so active, I found myself taking 13 different medications for diabetes, hypertension, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay. And although I did not have any major events like VK talked about, I was very scared that something significant can happen with this many medications. Okay. And I made lifestyle changes and the results were fantastic. So let me go over where I was. So my weight was 186 pounds, which is a BMI of 26.7. That puts me in the overweight category, not obese. Okay. The blood pressure was my biggest concern. I would see spikes of up to 195 or 110. Okay. But generally 165 or 90. And the doctors kept adding medications. When I was taking 3 medications for a long period of time. When I saw these numbers in early last year, my primary care doctor added 2 more. And then she said, I don't know what to do with you. I'm going to send you to a cardiologist. The cardiologist added 2 more. So now up to 7. It says, I don't know what to do with you now. I'm going to send you to a nephrologist, a kidney specialist. Okay. The kidney specialist kind of said, this can happen if your artery to the kidney is compromised. So let's do an ultrasound. Now, ultrasound came out with, it's not that bad. So she said, I've got 3 more medications to try. I said, what the hell? I mean, you're just going to, am I your lab for trial and error? Okay, just keep trying more medications. Now, diabetes was also, I mean, I've been taking metformin, but 3 tablets. The lowest dose is 1 at 5 milligram. And the A1C was 7.3 without the tablets and 6.4 with those. Cholesterol was just getting to a borderline high. And the doctor had started giving me statin. I had a condition called trigeminal neuralgia, which would cause pain on the right side, like TMJ. So entire right jaw would be very painful while eating or even talking. I was taking Zyrtec regularly for allergy control. Would also take Pepcid for acid reflux. I have sleep apnea, and I took medication for erectile dysfunction. Now, after I made my lifestyle changes, look at the changes. Okay. Although weight loss was not my primary goal, I did lose a lot of weight in 6 months. I went down about 36 pounds, 38 pounds at my peak. So BMI of 22, which is normal range. Okay. Blood pressure, I was able to gradually reduce my medications to 0 meds. And the blood pressure now stays between 130 over 85 to 150 over 95. Now, I've learned through all my research is that the classic doctors will say, you have to take medications to bring it down to 120 over 80. But I've learned that if you are 55 or above, taking medications at BP of 150 or 95 is actually over-medicating yourself. And then the all-cause mortality actually goes up. So the negative effects of medication is worse than the value the medication provides. Okay, and there's a lot of research showing that. Okay? Diabetes actually reversed very quickly. In about 3 months, I was able to go down to 0 meds with an A1C of 5.7, which was estimated because you have to wait 3 months before getting an A1C test done. And it actually came out to 5.4. Cholesterol, I stopped taking statin, and without meds, it's 181. And now I've learned that actually the total cholesterol number is a bogus number. You really have to look at the triglycerides over HDL ratio, which I'm in the, you have to, less than 2 is a good place to be. I'm actually less than 1. And my HDL is higher than triglycerides at this point. My trigeminal neuralgia is gone. I have not taken any Zyrtec for a while. I haven't taken any Pepcid for acid reflux, 0 acid reflux. Sleep apnea, I think I have to go through a sleep lab because of COVID. I haven't done that, but I'll do that to find out if I really need a sleep apnea machine. And I'm not taking erectile dysfunction medication as well. So the question is, well, there are some side effects. I feel and look a lot younger. My knee pain is gone while biking. Energy level is vastly improved. I used to be in my hiking group a laggard. But now I have no trouble keeping up. And in every Saturday, I go for a hour-and-a-half hike, followed by a 24-mile bike ride, and I'm still alive after that. Okay, I'm actually training for a 75-mile bike ride around Lake Tahoe, which is at a fairly high elevation, 5,500 to 6,500 feet. Skin has become soft. It used to be crocodile skin. Hair loss has virtually stopped. Good news is, I need new clothes. My jacket size has gone from 44 to 39. Waist has gone from 36 to 33. Okay. So the question is, how did I do it? I followed a program called Make My Health. It's run by an IIT Kanpur graduate, Lalit Kapoor. And the philosophy, the approach is the following. And it starts from this belief that the human body is a fantastic self-regulating and self-healing system. Okay. But you have to let it detox and give it food, nutrients that help the body, rebuild new cells and really repair itself. Okay. Now, the detoxing mechanism has a few things. So I stopped all animal protein. So I was already a vegetarian, but this meant I became vegan. So no milk products, no dairy at all in any form. Now chai is still my favorite, but I have found soy milk as a substitute for chai. I've tried soy milk, almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk, and they all, I think I have many of my friends who are on this program. It's a very personal taste. Some like cashew milk, some like almond milk. For me, soy milk works. Okay. For yogurt, coconut yogurt works for me. Okay. And no ghee at all. Okay. Reduced all processed food. So zero oil for initially. Now I use very little oil. So I do nothing that's deep fried, but only use oil for basic seasoning. No processed sugar at all. If I need something sweet, I eat fruits or use dates or date sugar. Okay. Detoxing, giving body organs more rest. If you are eating all the time, your body has to work all the time in digesting. Okay. So, and it has to produce insulin all the time. High levels of insulin actually are a cause for many diseases. Hardening your arteries and causing the kind of incident that VK talked about is just one example. Okay. In fact, these days, for most people think of insulin problem as showing up as a diabetes problem, but that's just that's only one of the symptoms of high insulin levels. Okay, it causes many problems. Second part about detoxing is limiting the eating window to 8 hours. So if you give your liver rest, it actually recovers. It does a lot of repair in that time. For me, 8:30 to 4:30 works. For a lot of people, do 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, also known as intermittent fasting. Okay, improved sleep. Sleep is something that I used to take pride in my IT days that I could get by with 5 hours of sleep, but I think that was a mistake. The body needs the sleep to do a lot of work. Okay, so I've gradually increased it from 5 to 7 hours. I'm working towards 8 hours. Okay, stay active. 10K steps per day. VK talked about that too. Now, a lot of people think about walking as a form of exercise. It is, but when you think about if you think about only as an exercise, you might say, okay, biking or swimming or something else can substitute for it. But walking is one of the few things which uses almost all the joints. So I think of that more, or I've learned that it is more of a detoxing exercise because all the toxins in the body actually now are released through sweat from all those joints. Okay. So if you do other forms of exercises, don't think of, my understanding is that they should not be thought of as a substitute for walking. Those should be in addition to walking. Right. So I do yoga and meditation on top of that. Now, this is the detoxing part. Now, flooding the body with nutrients so that the body can rebuild. Okay. Increasing consumption of fruits. Now, when you're diabetic, the classic doctors say you can't eat too many fruits. But in this plan, it's actually the opposite. The fruits are a great source of nutrients. Always include berries because they have a lot of fiber. And never eat smoothies. Fruits are great, but fruit juices are actually very bad because they provide a lot of sugar to liver, and the liver has to do get into overdrive, which it sometimes cannot, and ends up creating a lot of liver fat, which is one of the worst kind of fats. Okay. Increased consumption of vegetables quite dramatically. Okay. Now, it's good to eat a lot of vegetables, but it's actually not very easy to eat the amount of vegetables that's recommended. So our shortcut is to drink 2 or 3 glasses of green juice, not smoothies, a day. The way you make juice is a little bit different from how you make smoothies. And eat from all the 5 food groups. 20% of, now it's 20% of calories. So it's by calories, not by volume. So nuts are extremely high in calories. So you have to have a smaller amount of nuts. But fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, grains, are all they all have good nutrients. You just have to balance them properly. Okay. All herbs and spices are highly recommended. They're fantastic. VK talked about walnuts as a source of vitamin 3 and flax seeds. Those are great sources of, so flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts are the great sources of omega-3. Okay. Now, I made a lot of changes. The question I get asked a lot is, should I be making changes very fast or very slow? That depends on you and what your personality is. If you go fast and make all the recommended changes, you'll see results very quickly. And this may be very motivating for you. For me, it was, because I saw my sugar numbers drop very rapidly. Okay. But for some, going slow and changing one habit at a time may be more effective. Okay. But that you may not see results for a while, and you may get discouraged and give up. But if that works for you, the best plan is the one that you can execute. Okay. Now, I'm a big believer in this program, Make My Health, and there are other programs. But this Make My Health program is an 8-week course where you get a lot more information, a lot more data and research. So this will, if you read all that, it'll increase your conviction as to why all of this is important. We tend to do things, when we listen to somebody recommend us to do something, we may remember 1 or 2 items, but it's difficult to remember everything. And even if you remember it, it's difficult to follow unless you understand why, unless you see the research behind it. And that's what this program provides. Okay? And if you do that, you're more likely to sustain the lifestyle changes. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and people ask me, do you have to do this for the rest of the life? I don't have to, but I feel like, hey, I'm feeling much better. Why do I want to go back to a style that caused problems? Okay, every once in a while, will I enjoy some tasty but not so healthy food? Sure, I will. My daughter's wedding was last week. I gave myself a holiday from this program for that weekend, but now I'm back on the program. I find that discussion groups are a great way to sustain what you are doing, and I have created 2 groups with my friends, and I welcome anybody who wants to join a group for a discussion every 2 weeks. And those discussions allow you to clarify what you have learned or what you are able to do or not able to do. Okay, and it helps you motivate others and motivate yourself. So that's my story. We'll take some live questions, and you can also follow up with me by email if you like. My email is very easy to remember, raj.shah@iitbombay.org.
Thank you so much, Raj. That was really an interesting insight and story, going into the details and how things were really figuring out for you. And, we have some interesting questions. And the questions, are interestingly such that, are basically for both of the experts, health heroes we have. So the first question that comes is that when we get the first indicators that something is not right, is it scary? So maybe first, Kala sir, you could answer, and then we can hear Raj also on that. Is it scary?
Yeah, it was scary for me. I was leading a healthy lifestyle. Right from school days, I've been into sports and other things. I used to actually take pride, that I'm 67 today, that I do not take any medicine whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And that's, and one fine day when a doctor told me you got a heart attack, I said, what? It was a big shock and surprise both for me, But when so it is scary to, in short, it is scary to say, why should, the question was, how can it happen to me? That's what I felt at that time. Regular with my walks, not very, I would say, not very, I like food, but not very indulgent in food. and but it happened, so it happened. You can't help it. Question is, it is scary, but then we need to come out of it. We have to tell ourselves, okay, it has happened, right? But I will overcome it. But that song, "We Shall Overcome," that has to be there at the back of your mind.
Right.
So that would be my thought. Raj, your take.
Yeah,
What do you say, Raj?
Definitely. I'd actually say the initial indications were much earlier when I became pre-diabetic and diabetic. Okay, and there was blood pressure, but I think there is a sense of complacency about, yeah, I'll take some metformins. What's the big deal? Okay, or I'll take some blood pressure medication. What's the big deal? Okay, and I think it was mainly lack of education. Now that I have educated myself, I know that diabetes is a very, very early indicator of problems. Okay, it's a strongest indicator of a heart disease. Okay, now let me tell you, you may not have full-blown diabetes, but actually it's even before the pre-diabetic stage, your insulin may be out of whack because the body produces more insulin to keep your numbers normal. So your doctors, if you're looking at A1C, your sugar numbers may look normal, but that doesn't mean that your body is not, your body's not going out of whack. And that may actually show up as a heart attack later on. So I have a lot of friends who the sugar numbers are fine, but they had a heart attack and they found out that it's because they actually were producing too much insulin. Okay. So I think to back to your question, I was only scared when the blood pressure could not be explained and the number of medications kept going up. And two, I was scared that, hey, either I'm going to have a stroke or a heart attack with this kind of numbers. Okay. Fortunately, I learned about this Make My Health program just in time to make all the changes. Okay. So I think for all now I have in my family now, many of my nephews, my nieces, my son, they are actually taking care of things much earlier in life. In fact, to them, see, I'm a Jain, so Jains have this concept of chovia, which is don't eat before, after 45 minutes prior to sunset. Now, that's fantastic, value behind that. So I have instilled that in all of my the next generation. Okay, so get started early. So that's a body's way to recover from a lot of things you do to your body that are not very good.
And so to add to that, Raj, I would kind of agree with you on that thought process. That's what I meant, going back to roots. We're in Jain community, we don't eat after sunset. A lot of people don't take food more than 2 or 3 times in a day. They regulate even their water intake. So once you follow that lifestyle, everything is automatically, regulated. Which somehow I also forgot in my journey for success, or whatever you call it. And then once it happened, then went back to roots, and which really, really helped.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting.
Well, I have a follow-on question for you.
Yeah.
So when you went to the doctor and you did not, the doctor during the test said, yeah, you had a heart attack, but you were still able to drive and walk up and all that. Was there an explanation for why? Did the body do a natural bypass for you, or?
Most of it, there's a natural bypass. As I said, there are a lot of tertiary coronary arteries that are made.
Right.
Otherwise, 2 major arteries are blocked and I'm still running fine. Right. So that's what they said, most of your tertiary arteries are playing the role, and you are not feeling the impact as much. But I drove comfortably without any, even after I was admitted to hospital, they kept me for observation for 2 days.
Yeah.
Before doing that angiography.
Right.
So one question which is coming, Raj, connected to this only is that when machines and medicines, get to become a part of life, and you're not seeing immediately that you're getting, freedom from that, what really goes on in the mind and how the family responds to all those changes in the lifestyle.
Sharad, we have a Shruti waiting in.
Okay. So as we are not able to have Shruti and Dr. Millie today, let's get to talk to Shruti, because they're now planning a session on 24th. Shruti, yeah, we can unmute Shruti, please. Let's unmute Shruti.
Shruti.
Hi everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Shruti.
Hi. I'm so sorry, I'm in the midst of some class. And just want to tell the audience that Dr. Millie has some family medical emergency, so she won't be able to join. But stay tuned. We will do this session again on 24th, and I invite everyone and for this lovely session. And thank you everyone at CWC again for giving me this chance. And sorry about today.
Surely we're going to have great time with you, Shruti, on 24th.
Yeah.
And we understand Dr. Millie's, limitations. So surely we'll catch up 24th. Thank you so much for coming over and talking to us.
Thank you. I will leave now.
Okay. Thank you so
So-
much. Thanks a lot, Shruti.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Sharad, what was your question again?
Yeah. So when certain changes happen in our life, whether it is medicines or machines coming up, a lot of changes happen in our lifestyle, a lot of changes happen for the family to get to know. So how the family responds to all those changes coming in their life for you?
Well, I have a doctor in the family. So again, she has been done classic training. So it was difficult for her to accept me saying, hey, I'm going to stop taking metformin. So I had to, because my sugar numbers are looking so good with all the changes, so I had to make a compromise with her and saying, okay, I'm going to go reduce it gradually, and I'll do it over a 3-month period. But I cheated. I did it over a 3-week period. Okay, I went from 1,500 to 1,000 to 500 to 0. But then I showed her all the numbers. I have a continuous glucose monitor, so I could look at my sugar numbers around the clock, and they were fine. So then she was okay. Blood pressure, I went very slowly. The changes. It took me 6 months to gradually reduce the blood pressure medications. But then when I went to my doctor and I showed her the chart, she said, yeah, normally I would not allow my patients to reduce medication, but since you are measuring them 4 times a day and I've, color coded, it shows red when it's out of whack, and it's yellow when it's a little bit out of range, and green when it's good. As I saw more and more green, the question I asked, at least in the US, the doctors cannot, for legal reasons, do not easily say you can stop medication. They're worried about lawsuits. They're worried about the liability. But the question I asked was, if I want to try reducing medication, which is the order in which I try reducing medication? Then she had easier time saying, you are taking control. I can tell you, try this one first, and then this one, then this one, and this one.
Okay, great, excellent. So
My case, Sharad, the support was enormous from the family. She was there. She could see the results of whatever changes we were making in our lifestyle. Actually, it also led to reduction in medicines that I was taking.
Mm-hmm.
And I do hope that my medicines will go down further. I may not be able to reduce totally 100% because the stents are there, but objective is minimize medicines as much as possible. And so that term food is thy medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And for which you need very strong support from your better half.
Certainly.
Yeah, let me add more to that. So when I told my wife that, hey, listen, I'm going to go, vegan or plant-based whole food. By the way, vegan does not imply healthy. French fries are very vegan, but they're very unhealthy. Okay, so plant-based whole food is the right term. Plant-based implies vegan. Whole food means as little processed as possible. So I told her, look, if you don't, since you are cooking most of the time, I'm not expecting you to make changes, so I will manage my own. But because I gave her the freedom, she said, no, if I'm only cooking for 2 people, our children are both out of the house. I'll also try the same way. So she was, so that was a family impact. Okay.
So good. The relevant question now for both of you is that, when one of the member in the family goes through such challenges, does it impact the lifestyle of the entire family, or other people keep on living, other family members keep on living their own life? What really happens?
Well, my philosophy is you never force anybody to change. You make changes by example. So I said, I'll do it. You don't have to do it. Okay. I will survive on, and I can make oatmeals and I can, go get sandwiches and salads from outside. So if you don't want to make the changes, don't. But when they start seeing changes in me, energy level increasing, medicines reducing, they were inspired too. Okay.
Wow. What about you, Kala sir?
I would agree with what Raj is saying. So in any case, at our age, it's just 2 of us, me and my wife, like Raj and his wife. The kids are out of the home, right? So it's just two of you who need to make that adjustment, right? So I also did the same thing. Okay, I'll make my oatmeal,
Yep.
I'll change my diet style, I'll focus more on fruits, and gradually when they see changes, they also tend to follow it and say, okay, we are there with you,
So that means even if they are not staying with us, but then when they keep on staying in touch with us, getting to know about our health and seeing what is really working for us, they also start gradually thinking that what they really need to change in their life.
Yep. I hope
Is that
so.
right?
I hope so.
Okay, excellent, wonderful. So this is becoming really very interesting here. So what, I'm trying to really understand from this is that while each one of us may be having our own take on life, seeing the way challenges are coming, but there are certain things common which, we are able to see is that we may have difference of opinion on the kind of diet, but then yes, diet is one thing you have to change once you get to hear certain things about your health. The other is yoga and exercise regime, which you want to have, and certain lifestyle changes which you would have to make. That means you have to create a new normal for you.
True. Like exercise becomes, routine part of your life. Sorry, Raj, go ahead.
No, finish it. You go first.
So what I'm saying is, so what happens is exercise becomes a routine part of your life. Like I started joining after we had a session of Laughter Yoga and Crack the Wellness Code, where Dr. Kataria came in, almost more than a year now, where I've been participating in his Laughter Yoga sessions every morning. So what happens is these things become, you see results and you are encouraged to do more. So yoga is important, as we all keep hearing. And, at some stage we start following and seeing the result also. Meditation is critical too, can make a huge difference. And of course, diet. And also I think somewhere, Sharad, emotional health plays a very important role. You have to keep yourself, remove that thing, all is well. That also kind of helps you a lot. There can be occasions when you can get into that sulking mode. Oh my God, what happened to me? Why did this happen? And which is, once you get into the negative cycle, it can be more damaging. So keep your thoughts positive, and that keeps you going, at least that keeps me going on the path that I've taken to go now.
Great.
So I in fact, Vika, your dad's, in your slide, you talked about how dad's poem, or, that actually summarizes this very well. Okay. But I'd say my understanding is that food is about 75 to 80%. Now you can disagree with the percentage, but food is a big part. Okay.
Sure.
Yoga, meditation, exercises around 10 to 15%, and the remaining 5 to 10% is actually the last thing you talked about. Feeling, staying positive. Stress can nullify a lot of progress you make. So staying positive, staying in a positive mindset. You may get some of that from yoga and meditation. Exercise, help you. Walking actually can change your mood completely. Walk, this phrase called walk it off. When you're upset, go walk it off. Actually, it makes sense. Walking can change your mood. Okay? So, in fact, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't go to meetings, because the mood is like sunglasses. They're colored glasses. Everything you see is colored by a mood. Okay?
True.
So.
Yes. Great. That's really excellent. It was such a wonderful, listening to two of the great health heroes, and getting to listen the stories, what really worked, how we combated, the knocking on the doors of those, maybe
Sharad,
at
I
times
have a
scary.
question for Raj,
Okay.
Once you make changes in diet, most difficult part that I found was, getting away from milk and milk products. Because milk is such a strong ingredient of our diet, whether it's curd or milk or sweets, whatever you take it. That is the biggest challenge I found, and that's one area where I do err at times even today. I don't know how does Raj manage?
It's a question of, there are two things. First, I gave up milk initially for health reasons, but as I did more research, the amount of torture that's committed to cows for producing milk is so terrible. Okay, so it's become a moral reason for me as well now. Okay, Now, I don't know. See, today's cows are not Krishna's cows. Today's cows are treated as machines. They've been given hormones while they are pregnant. So they're given hormones to produce milk while they're pregnant, not after the calf is born. Okay. In our forefathers, cows were treated like family members. You let the cows give the calves milk first, and then the leftover milk was we use.
Yes.
These days, the calves are taken away from them in 48 hours after they're born. Okay. So all that stress is coming through in that milk product too. So all that stress, if you're taking milk products, that comes to your, that comes inside your body. All the hormones that are given, are coming through into the milk products. Okay. So the reason I'm talking about this more is that when you listen to this more and more, it increases your conviction. Why would you want to? Of course, it is very tasty. But why would you want to give up something tasty? You have to have a good reason, and the good reasons are health and morality, both. So read that. I would say read more about this. Okay. Read more about the bad effects of, and everybody who's, in fact, I have a friend who just called me yesterday and saying, hey, my cholesterol numbers were up suddenly, and I thought I'll try what you are recommending. He gave up milk products completely. Just 2 months, so cholesterol numbers went down by 70 points.
You got, yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did perfectly well. That's what I also keep telling myself, that the amount of hormones that are injected to cows, the conditions in which they are kept today, it's not worth having milk at that cost for them.
Yep.
But nowadays you find a lot of, special cows which are kept, they call A2 cow or whatever it is.
Yep.
And they supply milk. I'm still not very sure how good is that to, take that milk. And
well, we are the only species that drink
milk after
milk of another species.
True, absolutely.
Doesn't sound very natural to me.
I agree with you there.
The second thing is, if you think about this as I'm giving up milk products, it's difficult. But if you think about this as I'm substituting milk products with other kinds of milk, nut milk, okay, all right, then you experiment. Look, your taste buds do change, but you have to give it time. It takes about 7 days before your taste buds change. So at this point, to me, soy milk, chai made from soy milk tastes equally good. To make curry made from coconut yogurt tastes equally good. Okay. Now, if I see rasmalai once in a while, do I crave it? Yes, I have temptations, but I give myself you decide how much of exceptions you want to permit. Once a week, once a month, once a year. Okay. So I give myself exception once a month.
That makes a lot of sense, to have certain cheat days to make it up for, and yet staying on your own routine. I think that's a point well taken, Raj. Thank you so much.
Yep, I would agree totally with Raj, that there are cheat days, but otherwise you can, once you start telling yourself, for me, it was once I realized what is good for me, what is not good for me, it automatically stopped.
Yes.
Like I used to be very fond of butter and cheese, if I had to take a slice of bread, sandwich, it has to have a thick layer of butter, it has to have a thick layer of cheese. And today I don't even touch it, So once you realize that's not good, how it's being made, that's not good, the process is not good, so automatically your craving kind of goes down considerably. So I'm in full agreement with Raj on that.
Yeah, and again, even in that example, I say I've not given up butter. I've substituted with peanut butter or walnut butter or almond butter. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I feel like having butter, I'll take bread again. I don't do white bread anymore. I'll only do sprouted bread because white bread is almost like taking sugar. And then I'll put avocado on it. Okay. So there's it doesn't mean that I'm not eating tasty food. It's just different food. Okay.
True.
When I came to this country,
Raj, it actually seems that, the white things are actually gradually getting out of the system, We are talking milk, the white, the cow milk. Then we are talking about, also sugar, the white sugar. We also talk about, the regular salt. So it seems that, white is the new, as if a, poison, which we are discussing.
New abnormality.
New abnormal.
So I want to share one more thought. When I came to this country, I was a vegetarian. So some of my friends who would non-vegetarians would say, hey, but when you go to a restaurant, you only find 1 or 2 items. I ask them, how many items do you eat? Okay, you only, okay, 1 or 2 is plenty for me. And then they'll say, oh, you're missing out on stuff. It's not vegetarian food, is not tasty. Now, come on, talk to any vegetarian. There's so much variety. Okay, so the same question comes up. Oh, as a vegan or as a plant-based whole food, is there enough? Do you have very limited choices? No, it is just like that. There is plenty of choices, just they are different.
True.
Very true.
And even in US, the options that are available now, they're phenomenal, vis-a-vis what they were 20 years back.
Yeah, in fact, the amount of vegan options have gone quite significantly up, but there's a big amount of misleading that's going on. Because, if you take, like, a vegan hamburger, okay, vegan meat, but the amount of processed stuff that's in there, the food industry has found very, very tricky ways to hide sugar and salt inside food, because those are the things that make it more tasty. So you have to be very careful about, if, in fact, one general rule of thumb is any packaged food, there's more than 5 ingredients, don't buy it.
True. So
or if you cannot identify, if you can understand what those chemicals mean, then don't buy it.
True.
That's really
The
interesting.
trick is to what you
And,
said, plant-based whole food rather than vegan food, because a lot
Yes.
of vegan food is also processed food. So
Yeah.
think in terms of plant-based whole food, and you're not likely to go wrong anytime.
Yeah, I mean, most Indian nastas, okay, I've divorced Haldiram, are deep fried stuff. They're very tasty. They're vegan, okay, but it's deep fried stuff. So
it's deep fried. So what we are talking about is, when we talk vegan, when we talk about, so that means it should be whole,
plant-based
food,
whole food.
and
whole food.
it should be not processed, and it should be cooked in least oil, not deep fried.
Yeah, so zero process is the best, but it's difficult to survive on zero process. Minimal process. If you take, let's take as a hierarchy of processing: corn, least process; corn flour, more process; corn bread, even more process; corn oil, very, very processed; high fructose corn syrup, even worse than that. So in that hierarchy, you kind of try to go with as little as possible.
Okay. Right. So that means the more processed the food becomes, more complex it is for our stomach also to actually digest, and it can create complications later for us.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you so much, Raj. It was really wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much, Kala sir. We're actually, this discussion is so intense and, incisive, a lot to take back. You wouldn't want to, stop some conversation there. But then, we have time constraints with which we have to go.
Yep.
So have
good
words, and, can only thank, both of you for such a great contribution, and, for the knowledge of everyone and understanding of everyone. And I hope everyone will enjoy these sessions. Those viewers who are waiting for this session, to, be available completely, and they can watch today, the Sunday, here at their own convenience. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And
thank you so much, Sharad. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kala sir. So, and it's time for us to, thank our sponsors also, and to inform you about our next event, and that's going to be breathwork in yoga and its impact on health. This will be session.
Sharad, can't hear you.
Some network issue.
Oh, okay.
You can start, Kala sir.
We'll just wait for a minute in case he comes back.
Okay. Yep, he's here.
Okay.
Yes, I think I had lost the connection. Yeah. So, so I would really like to thank our sponsors also. Before that, I would like to inform about our next event. That's going to be. Am I audible there?
You're audible. There seems to be some network issues. So
Yeah, am I audible there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So next event is Breathwork and Yoga. Its impact on health, session 2. In this, we'll go deeper into more pranayams, which are going to help us. And we're also going to focus a lot on people who are hypertensive or have high blood pressure. So the date is going to be 17th July, Sunday. That will be 11 a.m. Please do join me, and we will explore deeper into the pranayams and do good, intense breath work also. So time for acknowledging the partners. So we have strategic knowledge partners, IHMR University and IS University, and community partners, MFJCF, Bitosa Jaipur, Jaipur Jewelers Association, RCCI, SMDJ Alumni Association, Jaipur Citizen Forum, Employer Association of Rajasthan, SKIT, and Life Shiksha. So these are our partners. We have the Shyamnagar Vikas Samiti, we have Pratham Softwares, Data Infosys, KP Automotives, we have NGO partners, Udan and Raksha, we have wellness partners, CK Birla Hospitals. Our pro bono partners are Global Lancers, Creations Adda, Satvik Trusted, our advisor, the general legal advisor, Mr. Sandeep Bansiwal, Pratik Jain on intellectual property matters, Surin Shah and Associates, our chartered accountant. A team of doctors, Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, Dr. Sheila Nambiar, Dr. Sunil Jain, Dr. Rashmi. She was supposed to join us today, but we're going to see her on 17th. Dr. Chavi Mehra. Our core team of advisors are Harminder, Multani, Adi Gurudas, Chitendra, and Arushi. Our ambassadors, Mr. Mavu Pratap Sharma, Neeta Buchra, Major General C.P. Singh. The management team has, in the initial time, during the session, Mr. Komodo Kala talked about Mr. Naren Bakshi, a founder and chairperson. And today we had great luck to have the health hero story of none other than our own hero, Vinkamadar Kala, to be sharing, his story with us. Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, trustee at Silicon Valley. I've been here in front of you for the last couple of sessions. You've been seeing me. Tushar is digital content and coordination, Umardeen, and Azhar, who's the digital content man for us. So look forward to see you all in the next session. And thank you so much. Thank you all. It was really a pleasure to be with you all.